the person behind the managing director title.
I have to stay back in India. You see, at that time, computers were coming up very fast. Then I decided to do what I had the passion for, first time for me, and I can tell you it was not easy.
One is you had a desire to continue that family legacy.
I could not take that luxury also. So
Have things improved by 2013 and maybe now as we speak? How can an Indian entrepreneur aspire to go global? Zeal for change. I think that seems to be the mantra. Hello and welcome to this episode of the HR Footprints podcast series. As you all know, we have been sharing some articles, some case studies on our website for over many years now. But we also thought, why not we directly speak to some of the leaders, some of the entrepreneurs, some of the achievers, and listen to them and learn from their experiences? Because a discussion, an open-ended discussion, always gives much deeper insights than what possibly we can read about. So, in this process, I've been talking to a few of the wonderful people. And for today's episode, I have an entrepreneur who started it all from the scratch and made it a very, very successful business. And it's fast growing as well. And he comes with a very, very interesting kind of a background, and it is in a very, very interesting space as well. So let's welcome our special speaker for today, Mr. Madhu Sudan Dadu, and popularly known as Dadu, or maybe we can even call as MSD.
MSD,
Welcome,
okay. Yeah, thank you.
sir. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for joining me on this. And I'm so eager to speak and understand the person behind the managing director title. So I think our curiosity will be more about understanding the individual, and we'll keep it more personal and informal kind of discussion.
Okay.
So I'll start with the one thing that everyone knows, that you have a fantastic qualification from BITS Pilani, a master's in engineering way back. And the curiosity is, after that, did you work somewhere, or it just started off as an entrepreneurial journey that moment itself? So how it all started?
You see, I did my graduation in the period 1980 to 85 from the Pilani campus. Actually, that was the only campus at that time for BITS. But even while I was doing my engineering, it was very clear that at some point of time, I have to start a business. We come from a business family, but because of certain circumstances, my father had to uh, join a service, and also all his brothers. I mean, none of them could take over the business which my grandfather was running because of his untimely death. So they were forced actually to go to service, and my elder brother joined the army. So there was a lot of pressure as it is upon me, being the uh, second son of the eldest brothers, and so that there should be someone who should join business. So in fact, that was one of the things which was very clear in my mind, that I have to stay back in India and also start something on my own. So that clarity was there even when I was doing my engineering. Of course, when I finished my graduation, majority of my batchmates actually at that time were going to US. In fact, that was a trend at that time. After finishing your graduation and somewhere post graduation also, people would join universities mostly in the US, and then I think they stayed back there. Even today that I see, majority of them are there only. So when I also had some opportunity to go, but since they were, as I said, it was always clear I wanted to stay back, because I knew once I go abroad, it may be a difficult decision to come back. So I
Mhm.
joined a very small company which was dealing into some medical electronics products. Uh, it was uh, it was a short stint of 7 months, but then I joined this Uptron Digital. You see, at that
Okay.
time, computers were coming up very fast, and there were very few companies making computers in India at that time. DCM Data Products, HCL had just started, and then Uptron was a UP government enterprise. It belonged to UP Electronics Corporation, which was kind of a state PSU, and they were very famous for their televisions at that time. In fact, they were the
Very true.
best
Yeah.
television manufacturers in that period in India, and they had started a digital division called the Uptron DSSG. So I was interviewed. It was a government, as I said, PSU. There were a lot of processes which took place, and finally I joined Uptron in the customer support department, supporting the computers. And when
Okay.
I say computers, at that time I'm talking about the very entry level desktop machines based on 1880 and 8085 processors, and very slow machines. And but I think it was very interesting because I think I have been in this industry since almost the start of it, at least in India. So I worked there for close to 3 years.
Okay.
And I had chances to have some training at the head office in Lucknow, and also as a service engineer we used to get into the computer systems itself. And then I think it was a very good experience for the beginning. But then I decided to do what I had the passion for. uh, I started my business of manufacturing computer keyboards, which was very much
Okay.
linked to the computer business. Uh, at that time, most of the keyboards and monitors were actually imported from Taiwan. China had not started at that time. So there was scope for selling computer peripherals to these companies who were making desktop computers, which included LTOS or PCL. These companies don't exist now, DCM Data Products. I think most of the companies which were making computers at that time do not exist today. But yes, then it was very common to have these companies making computers, and we started making keyboards as OEM suppliers to these companies. We went through many government approvals at that time, which taught us how to deal with the government. There was a thing called uh, this manufacturing program which required indigenization over some period of time. So it was a phased manufacturing program which was approved by the Department of Electronics and DCSSI, which was the Ministry of Small Scale Industries. Both of them interviewed the new companies, and then they approved the plan because of the import components involved in that. So I went through the process, which taught me a lot of things on how to deal with the government, and also a very professional way of how to do any business. And because at that time IT was very few people were there, so it was definitely considered the technology a product. And so when we started, so this was the once we got all the approvals, and because of the imports involved, we had to start importing goods again. First time for us, first time for me, and I can tell you it was not easy. My first LC which I had to open, we did not, I even didn't know what an LC means. I went to my bank and they asked me for a 300% deposit for opening the first LC. So import was not easy at that time. But yes, these were difficult times, and we managed, and we started making the computer keyboards in India, and started also supplying to some of these computer manufacturers. But within 3 4 years, I think the imports became easier. The finished goods import was made easier by the government, and a lot of imports started happening from Taiwan. And that is the time we realized that it may not be very profitable to keep on manufacturing over here. And
Okay. Okay.
unfortunately, the policies of the government from that time have not been very manufacturing friendly. So we lost touch of innovation and development, and I think we started depending more on imports. And so we also had to change our line of business, because I did not want to be just a trader of importing and selling. We decided to stay with IT, but more about applications of IT in the industry, which
Right.
means how computers could be used. For example, we started with the uh, garment application
Okay.
for pattern
Okay.
marking and designing. We
Right.
started
Right.
with for footwear design, there was a software which was available. So I did not go to the core IT where it was all about coding and programming languages, but how to use IT for applications. So this
And
is
I'm recalling all of this was just around the 90s itself, right?
yes, this is I am
1990
talking
kind of
about
thing. That's all.
between 90 to 94, 95.
Yeah,
So
so very interesting that very early you already had two cycles of experience. One was, I
yes,
think, 3.5 years of working in an organization at a
right,
very grassroots level, service engineer to customer support and learning all of those things. That was one cycle, and then
right.
you started your entrepreneurial journey and one cycle of manufacturing and also understanding that there is no future in this business. Even that also got completed. All of this very fast paced.
And even
Okay.
the third phase was very interesting, which was more about applications, how to use the
Right.
available
Right.
products
Right.
for making applications which were useful. So I
But
think these,
just before we get into the third phase, sir, I'm just a little curious. One is you had a desire to continue that family legacy of staying in business and growing some business, right? Because
yes,
something happened and you wanted to continue that legacy. But your dad, for example, you said he had to join a service, but then he's now seeing his son getting into a troubled waters of business. So did he not discourage, because he would have just experienced his
no,
compulsion of getting into a service?
it was actually the opposite, because
Okay.
they all came from the business family. And I think even my father wanted, it was actually the all the family members who wanted
Okay.
that someone has to go in business. So I think I got a lot of support from my father. He was
Okay.
posted in Kota at that time with one of the big JK Synthetics. He retired as the CEO of JK Synthetics in Kota,
Okay.
and he was working there, and there was all the support that I got from them. Of course, for the capital, yes, it was not a huge capital that I could get from them. They had
Mhm.
their resources, but yes, I got some money from them. But rest of it, I organized from the banks, and then that
Okay.
experience was also very useful, because
Yeah.
working with the banks at that time was not easy at all. I mean, as I said, even for an LC, I had to give a 300% deposit. So working with the bank, so I understood how the bank works, how the accounting works. We used to write our own ledgers and cash books with hand.
Mhm.
So I mean, of course, we could not employ people. So I think the good part was that I could experience almost every facet of work which are required for any business, whether it was sales, development of product,
Yeah.
accounting, managing people, administrative jobs, working with the government, working with import department, working with the banks. So that experience, I think, made us a made me actually definitely someone who has done something on his own. So that counts a lot, because you cannot learn it through classes at all. So I
Right.
practically went through these
No, this is a
experiences.
fantastic example of self-made entrepreneur. So while of course family gave a lot of support, and I understand there's a lot of inspiration from there, but the rest of it is all completely a self-made kind of a person you are. Now, at that moment, personally, while your dad was encouraging and everyone, every elder person in your family was encouraging, personally, as a young person at that moment, did you ever have any fear of failure, that what if this business doesn't fly and what will happen to my life and my career and all?
You see, there was no scope for failure for me. Because there was no way I could fail. It was just that the pace of development could be slow or fast depending on how the
Mhm.
situation was, and I very quickly adapted to the situation as it arose. And
Mm.
fortunately for us, fortunately, we I was in an industry which was a growing industry, so there was always a scope of growing with the industry and in a new technology. So many people were looking forward to this, and with my engineering experience, and I think I was in a position to be a part of this industry from the very beginning.
No, but that's
So
a
that
great example
not
of
about only.
how
I
you
had
never
no.
allowed any devil to enter your mind, of
Yes,
devil
there
of
was no.
failure.
I could not take that luxury also. So I never thought of going back to a job, or I never felt dejected or disappointed or discouraged, even when I saw some failures, I would say. But then that also I took is as a learning experience for my next
Right, right.
way of doing things. So going back, so fortunately in 1984, we found a company called Roland. It was a Japanese company. They were looking for distribution in India, and they were making cutting tables, cutting plotters for many industries, especially the print industry, garment industry. So we were already selling applications based on that. So we were fortunate that they decided to give us the distribution for their products, and that is how I entered the digital print business. It was mainly because of
That
Roland.
was early 90s, early 90s,
This was 1994.
1994. Okay.
Yeah. So
So
till then,
that's
we were
almost
doing different
three
things. Yeah.
decades ago. Three
Right.
decades ago,
Yes.
the
Almost.
buzzword that we have been talking now, that every organization wants to go digital, digital transformation, digital solutions. I think it's a buzzword these days, but it's amazing that how you touched that industry 3 decades ago. Do we call it as a foresight or sheer luck?
I think it is a combination of both, because of the engineering that I did, and computers were coming up. Computers are basically digital devices. I mean, they run on
Yeah.
binary and products. So I knew that analog will give way to digital in most of the spaces. And
Amazing.
this is actually what has happened. Most of the traditional analog devices are going digital. There are a few applications left where analog is still there, but I think digital, even at that time, we knew it was difficult. They were but the technology was developing very fast. Research was taking place in several places, mostly in the US. And I think I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time. So I think digital was the word then, and we
Yeah.
never left digital since then.
No, I'm just mentally recording what are the kind of lessons. So one is, I think, very deep desire and tremendous family support, and never entertaining any fear of failure in your mind, not even once, and spotting opportunities and quickly pivoting and turning around. If one is failing, then look for the next opportunity. I think all of these are great lessons. And also, I think one more very important thing that you shared is how to be hands on with multiple functions so that you
Yeah.
really get a grasp of how to run a business or an organization. Yeah, yeah. Amazing, amazing. So now,
So
sir, when after traveling all this, of course, Roland happened, and after that, the big thing is ColorJet emerging. So, what was that thought? Because I know Roland is a big name, and possibly you could have grown and you would have been satisfied with that, but you were not. So, you actually
you
started ColorJet.
First of all, Roland was and still is one of the orthodox Japanese company, I would say. They taught us a lot of things. and working with the Japanese companies is actually, I would suggest most of the people should work with them to learn from them about
Okay.
the way, about the processes that they follow, the sheer discipline that they have. They're very hardworking, and there are many things that we can learn from them. And on top of that, Roland was mainly a innovative company which was producing products which were very very new in the industry. They were the first ones to launch the first colored digital wide format printer in the world. And
Okay.
so it has been a very great experience working with them. But as we grew, we found that just depending upon distribution of Roland products and applications around it was not enough for us to succeed in business and grow more. This is where we added a few more products to our distribution. And in 2007, so 2013 actually, we started manufacturing of similar products, but these were the products complementary with what Roland was giving to us. So
Right.
we now had a complete range. And because of the manufacturing experience and always the desire to go into some kind of manufacturing, the first opportunity that came my way, I decided that I have to start a manufacturing business along with what I was already doing. So
Right.
that is where actually the ColorJet itself as a brand, as product started. So this
Okay.
was
Okay.
manufacturing of printers about which we already had a lot of experience of the industry. And again, it was not easy because government policies, as I said, were not very manufacturing friendly even then. So we came into manufacturing at that time.
Okay. But compared to when you started, where you said, I mean, you had really tough time of getting any permissions or importing things and all. Have things improved by 2013 and maybe now in as we speak?
Yes, 2013. Actually, one was the banking had improved a lot.
Okay.
Second, import was not as difficult as before. And because I had already started traveling abroad, especially going to Japan several times and Taiwan,
Yeah.
so I think I could sense that there are a few products which we have to import, but then there are others which can be made in India. In fact, when we
Okay.
started our own manufacturing, we were the first company to enter into manufacturing. And even today, after so many years, I find not many more companies have come. I think it was a difficult thing to do. It is still very challenging to make your own, produce your own products over here, given that China is a big competition who produces much more than what we do. The imports are very easy now, so it was a tough choice to either make it here or import and sell it, maybe with your own logo on top of it. So I think
Okay.
even
Okay.
before the present government, which is supporting a lot of manufacturing activities, at that time in 2007, when import was, especially for technology products like IT industry, was the only solution, we decided to go into, and we took a very tough decision that we will have our own manufacturing facility for the complete printer. And
Okay.
the initial days were again, that cycle of difficult times was there because not only the product itself, but the things like excise, for example, was very difficult. There were several different rules for excise, the sales tax, and the other taxes that the government had, and the norms which we needed to follow, in addition to the high value of finance required,
Yeah.
because the working
Yeah.
capital requirement was very high, finding the right bank, and all those things were again a big challenge at that time. And it has become much easier now. But
Okay.
yes, in that 2000 to 2010, I think we had these challenges which were much bigger challenges at that time.
Okay. Okay. So one is, I think, ecosystem has improved compared to what it was maybe a decade ago. And next thing I'm a little curious is in terms of growing ColorJet, what has been your focus, or what will be your focus? Is it going to be cost efficient kind of a production, or innovation, or both? How do you see this?
You see, innovation has always to be the central theme of anything that we do.
Okay.
So that is for sure. Second is when we say cost, because I had started visiting China also, and we were seeing a few manufacturers there. I was very sure that there is no reason why we cannot do a better quality product even at a cheaper price. We always think that the Chinese are the cheapest, but then in India, if we have that zeal, that continuous effort combined with some innovation, I think that I do not see any reason why we cannot do better than them. So this is a
Okay.
firm belief that I always had even then, and I continue to believe in it even now. Uh,
Okay.
just that in addition to the ecosystem outside like finance, banking, imports, customs, government, there was a bigger challenge was in development of the new product, because you see in China there is a lot of suppliers who are available which can provide components for your product, whereas in India there was none. And second thing was
Okay.
finding a team of people who could design the product and also make prototypes. So for that we had to take even at that time some components from China and to bring them from here, because the quality that was required for our machines was not unfortunately available in India. Even when it was available in India, the delivery times and the commitment levels were very poor. So we were forced to import a few components. But again, we completely stopped selling Chinese products, and we started importing on our own. And I can tell you, selling my first 10 machines was the toughest thing that I had to do. First, I had to
Okay.
sell it to my own in inner in company. First, my immediate customers were people who were working with us as sales, and then of course, as an Indian manufacturer, we had to prove that our product works. So this
No, no,
was the toughest time that we
that's
had.
a very interesting statement that you made. I mean, you had to sell the concept of an Indian machine to our own
Right.
salespeople. Yeah, so because they have to believe that we can make equally good kind of products. Okay,
Yes.
that's very interesting.
So we had to give the machine and without taking any payment at many times, and then the customer, once they start using it, after the initial hiccups on technology and
Sure.
some mechanical issues, I think there we were. So those difficult times, but as I said, those were the most difficult time, because because I was for I knew for sure that we will succeed. So there was no looking back. So
Mm.
whatever be the problem, I was confident that I can find a solution for it. It may have taken some time, but I was never, not even a day when I thought that I have to stop it or I have to do something else. I said
Okay.
I knew I can do it. It's only a matter of time with the right decisions, with the right choices, and of course support from my team and
Yeah.
some very initial customers. I would like to thank them also, because then they are the ones who became like guinea pigs for my machines. So but I think with all that, slowly we started proving to the industry that we could make working machines. Within a few months we could also prove that we were making machines better than China for sure. And now, of course, people believe that we make machines which are similar, if not better, to the European machines.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So I think two things that I'm learning from while speaking with you is one is a very deep belief that we can also do. It is not restricted to any one country or any one particular region. I think that deep belief that you carried,
Yeah.
and the second one is never give up kind of attitude. I think despite all the hiccups and the difficulties of pushing through, you never gave up. I think that seems to be another very deep character, because I think but for that you would have found maybe easier way of doing business. Maybe you would have chosen to do something else. but you never gave up these two things: a deep belief and determination to pursue despite all the hardships. Wonderful. But after hearing you and seeing where ColorJet is today, with going global and selling to various customers across various geographies, I'm sure it must be a fairly satisfying kind of a journey. I mean, maybe not a saturated journey at all, but must be a satisfying journey for you from where it
Yes, it has
started and where
been.
it is now.
For sure, it has been very satisfying. Although I am very ambitious, so I always think there is much more that can be done.
Perfect.
But I think making efficient products with some innovation built into it, consistently improving the product based on the feedback that you get from the market. So staying close contact with the market,
Yeah.
and also understanding the technology, deciding on what you want to build yourself and what you are forced to import from outside. I think all these things, the product knowledge itself, the market knowledge, I think all these factors about the product are also very important in addition to your own personal things that you must do, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
I, maybe I never thought I had these qualities, but now that you mention, thank you very much for that. So
Yeah.
again, exporting was another challenge. Actually, this was another phase that we saw, that exporting from India manufactured goods was not easy. It's still not easy, because India, outside India, is seen more as a, for IT, for example, we are very well known.
Hmm.
For any computer related things, software development, even services, India has been very well known. But when it comes to manufactured goods, we do not enjoy that kind of comfort level. In fact, we are seen as a poor quality product manufacturing. And the
Okay.
reason for that, again, is in the past, because there was no manufacturing taking place, not many people were exporting, especially the technology products. I'm not talking about garments and other industries, but for capital goods or printers, for example, in our case, there were no companies who were exporting outside India. So the reputation that we saw when we first went into the international market was that there was a lot of apprehension when a
Yeah.
customer was taking a decision. Fortunately for me, because of my international network, because I was working with Roland for so many years and some other companies, I could find a few dealers who supported me, and they said, okay, uh, we will see how to place the Indian product as against the Chinese to begin with. So
Okay.
that is
Okay.
the challenge that we had at that time. And
Mm-hmm.
I think, but now with the government also improving a lot on the manufacturing sector, uh, what we produce and what we have always produced is never compromised on quality. It may be a little bit more expensive. We can reduce our margins, but then if you stick to the quality of the product, you will always succeed against the Chinese for sure. I don't say they don't make bad machines, but
Right.
sometimes they compromise on quality because of the low price they have forced to offer. So this is one thing that we resisted from the very beginning. We
Okay.
did not lower the price, or we did not reduce the quality because we had to lower the price.
Sure.
So, and
Sure.
this pays in the long run. The
Hmm.
few initial sales are very difficult, but once the customers start using your product, it becomes easier for us to sell. But I must say, it is still a challenge. Not many people see Indian product as such in a very high quality product kind of a category. There are countries where I go, even today we go, we find that they want to buy from India in preference to the China products. There are a few
Okay.
countries where we find
Okay.
customers with that. But what we have done now is we decided to build a brand for ourselves. So we never sold our products as a OEM kind of product. We always decided that we will build a brand, and we spend a lot of money in the international market on brand building, on the major shows, but always under our own brand, and always
Okay.
as ColorJet. So this helps us because Although we are an Indian company, so now slowly being an Indian company is converting from a weakness to a strength, actually.
That's good.
So they
That's an
see
interesting
ColorJet
one.
as a strong brand from India, and
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm very sure that with the current successes that we have been getting, we will be one of the top players. We actually are one of them, but we may be among the top three in very near future.
Amazing. In fact, that was one question I wanted to understand from you was how an Indian company can go global. In a way, I think you've already shared. You
Yeah,
said one, leverage your network, your own personal network to some extent. The other one is
right,
never compromise on quality because you will
right.
always
This
be
is, I think,
compared.
this should be number one. Yeah,
This should be the number one. Yeah. So
right,
never compromise on quality just because you need to fit into a price point.
right.
Because the first comparison comes with quality and the perception itself. The next one is leverage your own sort of network. And the third one is very important. But I guess many other companies may struggle a little bit because building a brand means I think a lot of expense, a lot of investment that goes in upfront. While you get the
Yes,
results maybe in a few years, but upfront I think you end up spending a little more. But that's the way to go. You need to become a brand from India. I think that's the kind of route that you're taking. So in fact, that was my question. How can an Indian entrepreneur aspire to go global? I think maybe some of these things. And of course, you also said one more very important thing is spot those markets which are favorable to the
India.
India perception. I mean, there are markets in the globe, across the globe. Maybe they are in favor of that India as a brand itself, and hopefully, I think currently the brand India is also growing so popular across the globe. Maybe that also helps many entrepreneurs.
And also, a very important step is to realize when you want to stop comparing with the Chinese and start to compare yourself with the European and the Japanese brands. I think there has
Okay,
to be
okay,
a very subtle shift to that, which will always help you in selling more internationally, in addition
wonderful,
to your
wonderful.
product, of course. But you
So
have to start giving. You see, the big difference that we make is we sell our products as solutions,
yeah,
whereas the Chinese will, unfortunately, because of the language problem, maybe they will always sell as machines.
okay,
So in
okay.
the international market, if you they see a company who's selling solutions, they will always prefer to pay much more than what they pay just for the machine. So I think to understand, depending on the product that you are doing, when is the time to shift from comparing yourself only to Chinese products and to start comparing, putting yourself in the league of the Europeans, let's say. I think
Wonderful.
that is
So,
also very
yeah,
important.
I think
So brand
it's a
definitely
shift of the mind. It's a shift of the mind, lifting your standards and yeah, your quality and all that. Okay. Right.
right.
So after listening to you, I'm a little curious to know to win outside the way I think you mentioned with quality, with efficiencies, and with innovation. You need that internal readiness as well within the organization. To conquer the markets globally, you need the internal system also to evolve. So how do you promote innovation and that quality orientation within the organization? Because you think at that level, but making hundreds of people also to think on those lines is not very easy.
See, I started, I mean, we have grown organically. We from a single person to a team of three people to 10 people, and now we have almost 400 people working in the organization. So we had to change ourselves also with times. And I found in every sphere, whether it is HR or manufacturing or sales or support, you have to grow and adapt to the industry to make yourself perfect in that space. And for that, you see, we have to make small innovation in different departments. uh, I mean, we are not doing like someone said, you don't do different things, but you do things differently, kind of a thing. So
Yeah,
borrowing
yeah.
from someone, but you see,
Shivkera.
innovation is not only about the product. Of course, it has to be there because the product has to sell the product. The
Yeah.
salesperson can do only a part of it, but the product has to be Good, that is inherent to any success. But then how you sell it is what the sales team needs to understand. The product management team needs to understand how we are able to satisfy the people, the team that we are working with us. So that's where HR comes into play. And growing from a very family organization to a professional organization in some kind of a, there are many changes which we need to do, and we have to constantly keep on working on those. So this is the must, to keep improving yourself all the time based on the feedback that you have from the industry, learning from your peers, learning from other professional companies. And I think the readiness for yourself to change,
Right.
the zeal for changing is a must. And this is something which is a constant, which must keep on happening at all time.
Amazing. Zeal for change. I think that seems to be the mantra. If you want to really change the organization, your own zeal to change. So I can't resist my temptation to ask you personally, since you said you've been transitioning from family business to professionalization. What kind of a personal transitions you had to make over the many years?
You see, I have been a family man from the very beginning, but yes, and of course, now because of the kind of work that I chose to select for my career, that also has been very demanding in time. But then there's a third aspect, which is my social work, uh,
Right.
being connected to many organizations, both educational, religious, professional organizations. So that is another area that I spend a lot of time in. So fortunately, they were never, except for the very beginning, there were no issues on, let's say managing your expenses, that the meager expenses that we have. So that I've been very fortunate on that. So we were not never short of, fortunately never short of that, because our requirements were not that big. So
Right.
we could always manage in what we were earning. And I had to find time for all the three. So making a balance with the family and the work and the social, which is a third dimension, where again I spend a lot of time,
Yeah.
is very important. So I think it has been a very satisfying journey. I think I am a good family person, although you have to ask my wife and my children for that. But
No,
I,
no.
I
Yeah.
think I personally think I fairly have succeeded till date on that. And
So there's a business, there's a family, then there's a social connect. That's, I think, three things
the
that you
social
have.
connect again is something
Yeah.
I could have avoided, but because I didn't want to, I want to it to be there.
And you've been,
But
yeah,
again,
maybe you're drawn towards that. Maybe you're inherently you're drawn towards that. Yeah.
inherently I was drawn towards that. And so as I said, it's not only the religious and the other educational organizations. Professionally, I am also linked to some organizations where I can see outside of my own company on where we can take a growth path. We also learn from any social activity that we do actually. And if you see, if you're managing your time well, then these things, do what you do in social life do not impact your working. That is for sure. In
Right.
fact, they help us in working better in your own career. So this
Wonderful.
this is also very important.
Mhm. Now, to allocate time for social activities and family and your, a lot of other interests means that you let go a few of the things that you were otherwise controlling earlier as a part of business, right?
Yes.
And this is a question particularly for all those family business owners who will always find it difficult to let go. It's not easy because this is
Yeah.
something that you have built from the scratch, and let it be 2 decades or 3 decades. One day you say, no, I think I'm letting go, let someone else handle this because I have other agenda to pursue. I mean, it is easy to listen, but to do it on the job, how did you manage, sir?
Very interesting. And because this is the period in which this is the most difficult question that I am going through. You see, when you grow an organization from scratch, obviously you know every part of it.
Yes.
So you think you can do it in the best way. But if you do everything yourself, you cannot grow. So you need people to help you in your growth also. And also there comes a time when in promoter division driven organizations, actually the promoter himself becomes a roadblock to growth. So this is there will always come a time when the promoter must exit from majority of the activities, and this
Okay.
is the period which personally I think with my age is the time where I have already started thinking about it. Fortunately for me, there are people in the family who can take some responsibilities in the business. We have a very good team of people, very professional, who have worked with us for many, many years. There are new people who are joining. So we are building a professional team. But yes, because of my passion for the industry, I want to at some time limit myself. For example, product development is my passion for
Okay.
developing new products, new technologies, but I want to limit myself to that. So I am looking for some right time where maybe I could be doing only that, and rest of the things can be done by the
The
company
leadership
people who
team,
are
the
running the
leadership
company.
team.
So I
Yeah.
move into more an investor role from a CEO role, and
Very interesting.
this day is not very far, I think.
Mhm. So again, I think just gathering from very, very important insights that you shared. One, I think a family owner or business owner or promoter must believe that further growth comes not just by himself or herself, but it has to come with by joining many, many other kind of minds together. That's first realization, the number one.
Yeah,
And number two, I think you need to start building a team and start believing in their capabilities that they can also do maybe do things in their own way, but they will also add value. And then you choose where you want to make a difference, and remaining things you trust the team, and then give it off and slowly but surely make this transition
yeah,
happen. That's how I think the scale comes. And more importantly, I think one is a growth, the other one I'm seeing is a sustainability of business. And the growth also
right,
comes if you want to build organizations. I think this is what it is. If you want to run business, that is a different one. Maybe if you want to build organization, maybe this is the formula what you just shared. But personally, I'm sure it must have been a very disciplined thought and a lot of intentional effort to
right.
pursue this path, right? To let go and to give it. And
Yeah,
now
you have
on
to
the other
shift from an executive role to an advisory role at some point of time.
yes,
You will
yes,
always be around to see if there's any
yeah,
help that is required, but not doing, not let us say, interfering with what someone else is doing, because they have their own experience, their own qualities, their own strengths by which you can grow. And once you believe them, once you have that trust which has been established, I think it is not very difficult to let go of many things which you don't have to do actually.
right. So from the aspect of organization building, which you shared and which we discussed so far, I mean, you mentioned that the social angle is one important thing, but I wouldn't say just as kind of a one social activity, but I'm actually visualizing your contribution in that is more like what you've done is organization building, but what you will be doing is nation building. Because I do understand that you help a lot of educated youth, or maybe people who are studying into their own degrees or qualifications and all that. So what is the space that you operate, sir, there in that? Maybe a few more inspiring stories there.
You see, in B, I am very much into what we call Swarojgar, which means India has
Self-employment.
always been
Self-employment.
an country of entrepreneurs. This is for sure. We somehow, especially after the Britishers started, we went to in that employee mode. Whereas I think we should have been more on the employer mode. So a lot of entrepreneurs, even a small rickshawala who is doing his own, running his own rickshaw, is an entrepreneur of one
Yes.
way. So, and I think this is something which India needs today, which means with whatever our education, the narrative was built that the education is for a job, which was
Mm.
very wrong. So education, we were taught that you do this graduation, post graduation, then you will get a government job or a job. So everyone was working towards job. They started seeing jobs as careers, but there's so few. Actually, if you see, there are only government jobs are only 3%. Put all PSUs and corporates, it's
Yeah.
not more than 11% of employable people that they can absorb. So rest of the people, other than the agriculture, of course, have to start do something of their own. So this is my main focus: Swavalamban, Swavalambi Bharat, and Swarojgar. So we say based on self. And if we look at हमारे at our भारतीय संस्कृति जिसे कहते हैं, if we go back and look at that, our historical period also, our villages were self dependent.
Yes.
They were industries in themselves. Everyone was helping each other, doing different products, and we were doing, in fact, very high quality products many years back, and we all had more than 30% of share in the export market many years back. But now I think we have to look back, drive our strength from our past, study
Okay.
and analyze what we were doing in the past, what we are missing now, and where we should go. And I think I put a lot of time into that. And then we have started a small organization where we uh, ask people to come and try to develop them. If they can become their own entrepreneurs, we can help them with finance if required, some project reports, even some business ideas, marketing support, whatever it takes, because it is very important that people start becoming employers now and become self dependent, not depend just on a sarkari naukri to take their career forward. And
Sure.
I think we have that strength in our country. So this is one major focus that I have now, that I'll probably get more time to spend
Okay.
on these activities.
Okay. Okay. Sure. And this is specific to any particular region, the initiative that you're talking about?
You see, I've started with Uttar Pradesh because we have a lot of opportunities, but I'm sure all over India there is a lot of space where this
Okay.
can be done. So this is not very region specific. It's just that
Sure.
how big you can grow, how soon you can grow, and what is it. But I think uh, you see, there are, if you see, even in business families, the children are not coming in business. They can get very good packages
Yeah.
outside. Yeah. But I think this is not the right way. It is not the Indian way of doing things. It does not gel with the culture that we always had. It does not suit our society at all. So we have to see people should be there looking for self, for the family, for the nation, and also for the society. So this is
Sure.
something that we have
Sure.
to, everyone has to give back at some point of time. I mean, there's only money can bring many things, but then there's, after that, what you see, after you have all that money, you need to give back to the society also. And
Right.
I think uh, not only saying it in words, but doing it in action is also very important. And that's what I think I
Which you
have
are
already been
currently
doing, and I'll do
busy
it
with.
more
Yeah.
in the future. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful, sir. And that's the reason why I said I think you've been spending time in organization building. Now you will be spending more and more time in
Yeah.
nation building and society building. I'm sure that must be quite fulfilling as such, because you
Yeah.
seem to be coming with a very deep desire and a mission, a missionary zeal to pursue these kind of things. It's not just a ornamentary kind of a thing. I think it comes with a lot of deep desire.
Right.
Fantastic, sir. I think, yeah, you seem to be multifaceted. You started when no one was talking about digital 3 decades ago, and you spotted opportunities. You scaled business. Now you're ready to let go and build a different society altogether. Very, very. How do you look back, sir, at the total span of working that you have spent your life? Is it very satisfying? And I know you
Oh,
mentioned
yes.
that you are a very ambitious person, but just to take a
No,
pause and say, how was it?
no, for sure, it has been very satisfying. And I think one thing is things happen on their own. The second is when you think you want to do something and succeed in doing that. So I think that gives you more uh, happiness, I would say.
Wonderful,
And
wonderful.
I think there are many problems today. Different people have different problems. Every one will have some problem or the other, health issues, family issues, societal issues, working issues. But fortunate for me that in spite of small problems, which the confidence that you can come over a problem is, I think, very important. So whatever be the problem, you cannot say that you will never have problems, but the way you can fight and win those is, I think, very important, and the belief that you can do it is more important than that. So it has been a very satisfying journey, on the financial side, on the family side, on the society, on the you see, professionally it has been very satisfying. Even if I look at our industry, I think we are considered
Leaders.
one of the best companies, innovators in the industry. Also in the society we have a good reputation, and I hope I am a good human being also.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. It's you said it's very satisfying. I think I would say it's very inspiring, really inspiring. And how you stay grounded and so humble despite your ambitious kind of nature. Maybe this is what people call as the level 5 of leadership, where you need to stay humble but very aggressive in terms of your desire to achieve something more and make a contribution. But outwardly, you can be very simple kind of a person. You seem to be a blend of both. A pleasure speaking with you and drawing so many insights. And I'm sure we have sort of relooked at the entire life ever since maybe you graduated from BITS Pilani to where it is and where it is going to be in future. Thank you very much, sir, for sparing your time and inspiring all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Raj. Thank you very much.